All right, what's up, y'all? Welcome to another podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about will the cruise industry ever recover from COVID? So, if you see me looking over every now and then, that's because I'm looking at my screen because I don't want to give you wrong information or anything like that. So, I'm going to double check my facts and all that. And then I have the camera right here. So, this is our first one that we're doing in a video format, which I've got this working this time. I have the audio, I have the cameras charged, so we won't have an issue with that. So, that's good on me. But so we're gonna break this off into six different sections. It's gonna be one where I ask the question why I thought of this topic. Second one is go over the guidelines, the new guidelines set by Royal and I believe Norwegian to resume safe sailing. The third one, the CDC no sail order was going to be extended to February 2021, but a whole bunch of stuff actually just happened with that. Four, what if another Diamond Princess situation happens, which I'll explain. If you don't know what that is, I'll explain that in that segment as well. Five, what will it take to get me personally to go on a cruise during COVID, as I've gone on a lot of cruises. And, I really do. I actually had a few cruise canceled. Yeah, I think one or two. I believe one, though. I had a cruise canceled because of COVID. And then the sixth segment is going to be my final answers, my final answer to this question, thoughts, and then like a wrap up. So let's get right into it. So recently Carnival, the reason I chose this topic is because recently Carnival, which is I believe the world's largest cruise corporation, the Carnival Corporation, not just the Carnival brand, which it kind of is confusing, but the Carnival Corporation, which is the entire thing, which consists of many different cruise lines like Princess Cruises and things like that. The Carnival Corporation recently sold 18 ships, so they're starting to get rid of like a lot of their older ships, which is the like the ones from like the 1990s and stuff like that, like the really small ones that don't really hold a lot of people. So they've been getting rid of those, and just seeing that Carnival is actually getting rid of ships can mean like it's kind of weird. Well, not weird, but it's eye opening because if Carnival is feeling this hurt, then all these other smaller companies are feeling it as well. But they don't have the capital or anything like that to stay afloat. Because Carnival has a lot of ships. So, but most of these smaller companies, like smaller cruise companies, can't just sell 18 ships because they don't even have 18 ships. They probably have 10 maybe on some of the smaller ones. Some of them not even that. Like I think the Bahamas cruise line or something like that. They don't have that many. I believe they have 5 or something like that, or maybe even less, honestly. But yeah, so Carnival sold 18 ships. A lot of them have been scrapped and have been going to the scrapyard out in Turkey. Carnival Fascination, the Carnival Imagination, Carnival Inspiration, Carnival Fantasy, and those were the only ones. Well, in the Carnival Cruise Line, but so yeah, they sold 18 ships, which like as a whole, pretty sure you can hear the dog, but they sold 18 ships, which is it's crazy. Like I think they said it was $12 billion, bringing up $12 billion, but with those ones that the Carnival Cruise Line actually sold, they can essentially make up the they lost capacity, but they essentially make it back up with the new Carnival Mardi Gras it's in sea trials currently. So with that, kind of evens out. So yeah, they've sold that many ships, which means they're hurting. Carnival's really hurting, and they haven't been active for about 6 months, I believe. This kicked off in March, and it's now almost the beginning of October. So yeah, they've just been sitting with no passengers. That they're not making money. Like you can't have any passengers, so you're not making money. And even with limited passengers, you would probably just be breaking even, which I'm pretty sure. Well, it's I know they'd rather break even, but they need money bad. They said they're good for a few years, but there's no telling because they still have the Carnival Mardi Gras coming out, and then they have another one of the mega ships. I think it's like the Carnival Celebration, which is going to be the sister ship to the Mardi Gras. So they have those two coming out, and then that's not even counting for whatever else they release in like budgets, not budgets, budgets with salaries and all that stuff, because they still have people on the ships. So, they have to pay them. They don't pay them much, but, they still have to pay them. Then you have to pay, like, the executives, the higher ups in the company, because, they're going to get paid. Like, they're not going to miss no meals. They're not going to miss no paychecks. So, I mean, we'll see where it goes from now, but I know Carnival will recover. Like Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, they'll be straight. Like there's no issue with them. It's just kind of like the smaller ones that, may or may not come back. Some have already. Some cruise lines have actually already went down under. I believe it's a few. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I'll put a list right here. So yeah, a few have gone under already because of this whole virus situation. And it's unfortunate, but you can't really do much about it. But but speaking of returning to cruising, Royal Caribbean and Norwegian have partnered up together to create some guidelines to resume cruising, like to show that, hey, we can do this if we follow these guidelines. And so we're gonna read off these guidelines. So essentially, cruises will have fewer passengers and more medical staff, so they won't they will not be at full capacity, because it's already a cruise ship. You're already pretty close, and it's going to be nearly impossible to social distance in that situation, with especially on like some of the smaller ships. And with that fewer passengers and more medical staff, they're also going to at first they're going to limit cruises to no more than 10 days, because of once you start going past 10 days, you have like a lot more stops in port, which can increase the likelihood of someone getting the virus from someone in the port, or anything like that, like even transmitting it from even transmitting it from the cruisers to the port. So it can work both ways, and then that just creates a chain reaction, and then we're back in like March again, where it's just horrendous. Another guideline will be 100% testing and mandatory masks. So what this means, you will be tested once you get to the terminal, and like you can't refuse it. If you refuse it, you don't get on, and you must wear a mask. I'm not sure if it's a mask all the time. I'm pretty sure it's not 24/7. I'm pretty sure in your room. Well, I know, of course, in your room you can take it off, and then when you're eating, because how are you gonna eat through a mask? So, but it'll be interesting to see if if you have to wear a mask in the pool. Like, that would be kind of disgusting. Or even if you can get in the pools, because that could be a hot spot for the Rona as well. But I know MSC cruises have been they've had 100% mandatory testing as well. They do multiple tests. So they test you when you get there, and let's say like if you come up positive on that test, then they'll do another type of test. So they're going to give you multiple chances to pass the test, and when to pass the test, saying that you don't have COVID. But if you do fail all the tests, then they're not going to allow you to board or anything like that, which you do run that risk. Nobody has really said if you will get your money back, or if it'll be a future cruise credit, or what's going to happen with that. But I'm pretty sure they're still planning all that out and everything. But speaking of, losing your cruise, let's say you go in port and you do something you're not supposed to, like a lot of people are referring it to as the cruise bubble, which is kind of like the NBA bubble in a way, where it's like really, really contained. So essentially, if you break the cruise bubble, then you will not be allowed back on. If you go in port, or really wherever, if you break the cruise bubble and do something they specifically say don't do, then you run the risk of not being allowed to reboard, which means you have to pay for your own flight, and you're out of luck. So I'm pretty sure people will not follow the rules, because people are already going crazy online about it, saying that they shouldn't have to cruise like that. They're paying money. They should be able to do what they want. But yet again, they're the first people complaining about this virus and whatnot. But that's just how people are. It's also going to be a focus on air quality. So they're going to revamp the ventilation systems to the HVAC systems and have the it's like the what's this say the MERV 13 filters that are designed to minimize pathogens and to minimize pathogens from crew and passengers alike. So they're really trying to, because this virus goes through the air, and basically you can get it any type of way at this point. So you have to wear masks and all that, so you don't spread it through the air, because this is highly contagious through the air. So they're gonna revamp the air system and all that as well. So most of these cruise lines in the United States, at least, they want to resume cruising back by the end of the year. But personally, I don't see that happening. Cases are still going crazy. Some are increasing. Nobody's really decreasing anywhere, especially in the United States. I mean, we're not doing anything about it, honestly. People are just dying, but it sucks. But so I don't really see any cruising resuming this year. Really, I'll probably say maybe I think that the cruise industry will resume in like maybe March. That's just my opinion, because we're going into flu season and all that as well, and then people still aren't following the guidelines like in regular stores and stuff. So how are people going to get on a cruise ship and with a little bit more freedom and be responsible? So I personally feel like we got a while to wait. I don't see this happening in the end of the year. Like they've already most cruise lines have already voluntarily canceled up until October. So yeah, that's I don't see it happening. Speaking of voluntary cancellations, there is a mandatory cancellation. So there's this thing called the CDC no sail order, which has been going for a while. It's been extended maybe 3 or 4 times, and it's about to expire in a few days at this from the time of recording this, which is September 30th. It's about to expire in a few days. So they had a meeting essentially, and the CDC wanted to extend it to February 2021. This is not confirmed at the moment, but this is kind of what's going on, what's the say at the moment. So the CDC wanted to extend it to February 2021, but the White House got in and all this stuff and was like, nah, bro. Well, actually, I just read something. The CDC no sail order actually expires today on the 30th. So maybe later in the day we'll get some update or something like that. Right now, the source is Axios, and they've reported that the cruise industry representatives will meet with White House officials on Friday to kind of formulate a plan of action and what they're gonna do. So most cruise lines are prepared to bring their new guidelines and stuff to show and try to prove that, hey, we can do this. But really, it's not an issue of them making the guidelines, because that's not a problem. They've made the guidelines. It makes sense and everything. It's just, will people actually follow the guidelines? Will people follow the guidelines? And what if another outbreak occurs? If another outbreak occurs, what is the contingency plan? What are they going to do? Is everybody going to be stuck again? Like we had earlier in the year with the Diamond Princess, which, if you don't know about that, that's basically it was an outbreak on the ship, and they were forced to they were docked, but they couldn't dock for a while, and then when they finally did dock, they couldn't get off the ship. People were taking off every now and then because of the virus, but most people were just stuck there, quarantined in their room. You couldn't leave, which cruise ship rooms are pretty small, and especially if you have like an interior cabin with no windows, I'm pretty sure that can be pretty tough. I personally couldn't do it because they were on there for a long while. So the cruise was, I think it was a 2-week or 2-month long cruise originally, and then once the outbreak on the ship happened, they were docked for 27 days. So imagine that, 27 days quarantined to a room that's even actually smaller than this room, or it might be around roughly this. I think it might be a little bit smaller than this room that I'm in, which my room is decent size, but whatever. Imagine being in there with 4 or 5 people, especially an interior room, which is literally probably like half of the size of this room. and being stuck in there with no windows with four people just there, that could be that can mess you up mentally, just being in there trying to deal with all that. I personally, I couldn't. I would have lost my mind, and yeah, I would have lost my mind. But speaking of the Diamond Princess, what if another situation like that happens with, let's say, some of these mega ships, like let's say the Oasis of the Seas? That one can hold, I believe, 5,000, at least 5,000 passengers. And let's say, and that one, even if they do limited capacity, it's still going to be one of the bigger ships, with the most people on it. So they'll probably, I'm not going to say numbers, but they'll have the most people out of anybody really on that ship. So like, what if another outbreak happens on a ship? Like, are you there? Are they stuck, or what's gonna happen? I think that's kind of what the issue is on why everybody's kind of hesitating, because what does happen? Do you have another Diamond Princess situation where you can't get off? Are they gonna let people off because America? Like, how will that work? Like, yeah, you do know the risk going into it, but you never really fully grasp the risk until you're in that situation. So I mean, it's kind of weird, because then let's say another outbreak does happen. Does this now stop cruising again? So can one person ruin it for everyone else, like for every company? These are the questions that are probably being asked, and trying to figure out. Like, there's no answer at the moment, but this is the issue that they're running into. Speaking of like going cruising, well, I don't know how to segue, but anyway, you know what? I'm gonna throw in a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Seeing monsters out your window. No, you can't sleep. You pretend though you don't have to play the hero. 'Cause I got you like you got me. When the earth shakes, when the bombs scream, until our last breath, every heartbeat.
All right, so hopefully you like that little commercial that was by me, for me, from me. But now, since we're almost at the end of this, what would it take for me to go back cruising? So like I said in the very beginning, I did have a cruise booked in August. I think it was August 8th, August 9th. So I did have a cruise booked on the Carnival Magic from Florida. I live in Texas, so I was going to fly to Florida and, with my family and all that, and we were going to go on a cruise. Unfortunately, that did get canceled. So yeah, that was when this all popped off, when there was still hope. What would it take for me to go back cruising? So, personally, I don't think I would go cruising in this whole COVID situation, simply because you don't get the cruise feeling. Like, when you're on a cruise, you kind of feel relaxed and free and everything like that. But then I don't want to have to, be worried about what the person next to me is doing and where's my mask? Oh, I forgot my mask. Because I've done that a lot actually here. I'll be like, oh, I forgot my mask. Got to go get my mask. I walked into a store and the dude was just staring at me just like, And I was like, why he staring at me? And I was just like, why are you staring at me? Just in my head, why are you staring at me? And then I touched my face and I was like, oh, I left my mask. So I had to run back to the car in the rain to go get my mask. So yeah, I don't think I would, because I know people don't do right. People won't do right no matter what. There's gonna be somebody who does not care, and it's I don't think it's the good decision for me personally. I like, if you want to go cruising by all means, do what you do. I'm not here to judge. Do whatever, live life. But I don't know. If I was to ever go to, like, well, I'm gonna go once this ends, but if I was to ever cruise during COVID, I would probably, it would have to be a smaller ship. I personally always go on Carnival because that's just what we do. I would probably go on like one of the I believe it's the Freedom class ships, which is the Carnival Freedom, Carnival, what used to be Carnival Triumph, things like that, like the smaller ones. I wouldn't go on the Vista or the Mardi Gras, or even some of the Dream class with the Carnival Breeze, Carnival Magic, Carnival Dream, all that. Wouldn't go on those either, because it's gonna be kind of too many people. So I'd stick to the smaller ships, and then I'd go at an odd time. So I'd go, let's say, like, I don't know, I'd go during the time that's equivalent to going to a theme park on a Monday. So I don't know. It'd have to be, all of that would have to be kind of lined up correctly for me to even consider going, and then the pricing as well, because with this limited capacity, that means more demand with less there's more demand. What's the word I'm looking for? It's more demand with less stock, I guess. I don't know, but there's limited spaces, so that means they're probably going to raise the prices to cover to kind of make some more money, and kind of cover themselves a little bit. So what I wouldn't want to pay more to have a lesser experience. That just kind of doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, that's just me. So that's what it would take for me. But essentially, we're gonna wrap this up a little bit. Well, now we're gonna wrap it up now because we're at 31 minutes, give or take a few. But to answer the question, will the cruise industry recover from COVID? I firmly believe that it will, simply because there's nothing else like it. Like, there's what else? What is similar to cruising? There's really nothing. Like, yeah, you can take a plane, but you gotta worry about the airports and all this other stuff, pay for bags, all that. Versus a cruise, you just arrive to the port and you're on the ship within 20 minutes most of the time, and then you wake up in a new destination every day. I mean, you don't really have to worry about unpacking or everything, and it's pretty good for the price. Because I was looking at a trip to Alaska because I want to go to Alaska, and that was $500 just for the ticket. And a cruise, you can probably get those at $500 a person in the entire cruise. In some cases you can, so that's already way cheaper because they're feeding me. I have a place to stay, all that as well. Versus, this is just $500 for a plane ticket, which now I have to find transportation, food, shelter, all that stuff, things to do. Versus a cruise takes care of all that for you for a pretty low price. I mean, cruises can get expensive though. But yeah, I do believe they'll recover, because if you've never been on a cruise, you have to go at least once. They're pretty fun, even like, because you can do whatever, like a lot. Like there's a wine bottle over here that you can't really see right now, but there's a wine bottle back there which I won doing some crazy things on a cruise. So it's like things that I would never ever do again, ever do again. But like we won't speak of them. They're so bad. So yeah, I mean, yeah, they'll recover. Maybe not everybody will make it through, but I know the big three, like Carnival, Norwegian, Royal Caribbean, and even MSC, I know they'll for sure make it through. They might have, less ships and things like that, but they'll definitely make it through. That's not going to be an issue. Some of these smaller ones, yeah, I believe more companies are going to go down, and I do believe that prices are going to increase for the time being at least, but it'll be fine. Cruising will not go. It won't die out. So yeah, it's kind of my thoughts and opinions about the whole thing and just everything that's going on with the cruise industry. It's a lot more, but we're not gonna dive into that in this episode because we're already at 33 minutes, which I could talk for forever. But so I'm gonna wrap this up here. I really hope you enjoyed listening or watching, depending on what format you're watching. We have the video version on YouTube and then the audio version on whatever I release it on, probably SoundCloud, Spotify, and maybe Apple. Haven't done that yet. But so yeah, thanks for watching. I'm watching, listening, I don't know. And hopefully you enjoyed it. I mean, we're getting better at it. We're going to get better at this. I promise we will. So yeah, it's been real. It's been fun. And I will talk to you guys later. See ya.